Okay, I'm excited about this video. I'm going to introduce something called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's tapping on certain points of your body to help input positive messages. By tapping on certain areas of your body in a particular way, they found that we can input positive information into our system much more quickly. So you're going to receive this PDF. It's called The Basic Recipe. Now, I've had great success just using this basic recipe for years and years and years. And as I've worked with children and adults, I have taught them this and sent people home with this piece of paper to use. And I'm excited to teach it to you today. You can dive into the EFT Emotional Freedom Technique. There's a whole book, there's a whole system, but I have found that this basic recipe works really well. I've just kind of stuck with it. I do that when I cook too. I find good recipes that my family and I like, and I just kind of stick with those ones. I'm like, why change it when it's working? I'm not a very fancy cook. I'm a very basic cook. So I like this basic recipe as far as tapping goes. I can remember it, and it's easy to use, and I'll actually do it, which is probably the most important. So I'm going to talk through this with you. You can see that number 1 is the setup, and you're going to repeat it 3 times. So you can choose to fill in the blank here. It says, even though I have blank, and we're going to say eczema, but you can insert any issue that you have into this, okay?
It could be stress, it could be acne, it could be a cold or a flu, it could be low self-worth, it could be anything.
So even though I have eczema, I deeply and completely accept myself. While you are doing that, you're rubbing the sore spot or tapping the karate chop point. So I go back and forth since we repeat it 3 times. The karate chop point is right here on the outside of your hand, halfway between your pinky finger and your wrist. That's where you would karate chop a piece of wood if you were going to do it, right? That's a very strong part of your hand. So that's the karate chop point. And you just hit those 2 against each other like this. Find your collarbones, and then right in the middle of each of them, you just drop down, and you'll feel a little indent, and it feels a little bit sore. That's why it's called the sore spot. And so you just rub right there under your collarbones. And while you're rubbing or tapping, and you can say this with me right now, out loud at your own home, even though I have eczema, I deeply and completely accept myself. And like I said, you can either rub that pressure point or tap it. Either one works. And then I go back to the karate chop. Even though I have eczema, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, number 2 is the sequence. And this requires some tapping around your face and some stimulation of some points on your fingers. You're going to go around your eyes. You're going to tap. It says to tap about 5 times on each point. I don't really count. I just tap. So right here where your eyebrows start, you're going to tap. So I just tapped where the eyebrows start, at the very corners of my eyes, and then underneath my eyes, right on the edge of that eye socket bone right there. You're going to tap under your nose and on your chin. Then you're going to tap your sore spot again. And then I call this the chicken wing. You can see the spot on the chart. It's a couple inches under your armpits, and I just use my thumbs and I push in right here, and I don't tap as much as I rub that spot again. You might find that it's a little bit tender. Now you can see on the hand part, you're going to rub your karate chop point, the KC, that's the karate chop point. And then you're going to squeeze your fingernail beds. It actually skips one of them, but I do all of them because this actually helps wake up the glands in your brain, and it feels so good. So I always do all 5 of my nail beds, but be sure to get that bottom corner that it points to on each of your nail beds, okay? Number 3 is called the gamut. This is your gamut point. You have your pinky finger and your finger next to it, and they create this little triangle, and you want to find a pressure point right in between those fingers. You can tap it continuously or you can rub it. It's easier for me to rub it, but it's good for my brain to tap it, and so I try to do both. Here we go. So you are working your brain in totally different ways when you do these 9 things. So they might sound silly, but you're connecting your left and right brains, your top to bottom and your front to back. So this is so good. While you're tapping this point, you close your eyes. Then you open your eyes. Then you turn your eyes down hard to the right, and you continue tapping or stimulating this point, and then you turn your eyes down and hard to the left, always tapping or stimulating this point. Then you roll your eyes in a circle, and you roll your eyes the opposite direction in a circle. It's interesting, it's kind of hard to tap and roll your eyes at the same time. So if you can get somebody else to do this for you initially and do it with a partner, they can tap while you're doing these 9 things. That's what I'll usually do when I'm working with kids, but you can also do it to yourself. Hum 5 seconds of a song. It could be any song. Happy Birthday's easy. It could be the same song every single time though. So and then count from 1 to 5. So we just engaged right brain. Now we're engaging left brain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you get to do that again on your other hand. All 9 things while you're touching the gamut on the other hand. We're almost done. There is a number 4. You can see that at the bottom. And that is to repeat number 2, which is the sequence. So you tap right where your eyebrows start. You tap to the rights of your eyes. You tap underneath your eyes, underneath your nose, and on your chin. And then you stimulate your nail beds again. Okay, so let's talk about really quick, before we finish up this video, this basic recipe. I talked through it. Because I talked through it, it probably took longer than it will when you actually use it. So I'm not saying that you should do this every single day, but I'm saying this is a tool that you have in your tool belt. Okay, this is one of those boards that we can lay over a pitfall. One of those pitfalls can become our thought patterns, what we're thinking about ourselves. And if we're thinking terrible things about ourselves or our boundaries or things that we want to change about what we're thinking, you're like, oh, I know what that is. That is a state of victimhood, and I need to overcome it. Then this is a tool that's a little bit faster than write and burn. When you start this, you could take one of those, say, okay, I feel like I'm just not good enough to be in a room full of people. Let's say that's totally something that keeps coming to your mind. That's what you do the tapping for. And so you'd start with, I want to accept myself and feel comfortable in a room full of people, no matter what my skin looks like. Now, it'll be awesome when your skin's cleared up, but you want to feel that right now. No matter what your skin looks like, people can like you for you. It's true. It's possible. It's not really about your skin. That's going to be amazing to get it cleared up. You start this with that in mind. And then you can even change these words. Even though I have eczema, you can say, I deeply and completely accept myself. Or you can say, I know absolutely that I can feel comfortable in a room full of people. And you insert the message that you want your brain to shift to. And then you do the points and you say it again. Even though I have eczema, I know that I can feel completely comfortable in a room full of people. And that's what you insert into your head. And then you do it a 3rd time and you do this basic recipe. Isn't that cool? This is a really powerful mindset technique to help you shift your mindset. So I hope you try it. It's not going to work one time with one thought pattern, right? We're shifting the way your neurons are making pathways in your brain, and this is just going to help it happen faster. So you'll probably have to do it with the same thing for a week or 2 until you catch yourself thinking the positive thought, or the thought that's a thought of creation rather than the thought of victimhood. So let's say you have trouble forgiving yourself. Let's say that's one that you identified with. So we're going to take that, insert that thought pattern into your tapping. After you feel like that thought pattern isn't a problem anymore, then you can move on to another one. And then you can just do tapping as you see it necessary, or as you see negative thought patterns arise in your life, then you can tap. And you might think of different words that you can put in there. It's okay, just totally make this yours. It's going to be super beneficial for you to include it as a habit.